I'd like to thank you all for coming this evening.
Who are you?
Well, that's next on the agenda here. I'm Louise Heck, and I am the chair for Whispers of Hope Benevolence Association. And beside me here is Tammy, who is our vice chair. Claudette, who is a member at large.
Hi, people.
Yeah.
Director at large.
Director at large, yes, thank you. Melissa, who is our coordinator for our thrift store in Kitchen. We've got Kim, who is our secretary and acting treasurer. And we've got Dwayne. And that is our board, setting board right now. We will nominate some new members or new directors later this evening. Most of you will have got an agenda and a package when you came in. If you'd have a look at that, and if somebody would approve the agenda. Okay? If you approve the agenda, can I have a seconder?
Can I
Okay. Yeah, but we've got a seconder
Diana
back here.
Darling.
Diana Darling. Okay, all approved?
Sorry,
Yes.
Go ahead and approve, I just have a question.
Yes.
You've introduced the people up there as the current members on your board, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there's 5 of you?
I am technically not a board member.
Okay,
Because
so
I am
you're the
staff.
coordinator. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you.
Yes.
And I understand that Tammy will no longer be a board member after tonight?
My term has ended tonight, so unless I'm nominated to do another 2-year term, then my term is ended.
So doesn't that mean that there's 4 positions that are being filled by acclamation rather than 5?
We have room for up to 9 people on our board,
Okay.
We need a
and
minimum of 7
we need a minimum of
to be
7
voted tonight.
to be voted tonight. And so we also hold 2-year terms, and we stagger them so that we will always have some continuity. So not all members of the board are finished tonight. Some are and would have to be renominated if they were to continue.
But doesn't that mean if you have to have a minimum of 7, then there's 4 people here that will be,
No,
no?
no, because Tammy is in the 1 year,
Okay.
and then it's, I believe I'm reading this correctly, it's Louise and Claudette that are 2 years, and you
Yes.
2 will be
Yes.
staying.
Yes.
Okay.
Louise, that is number 6 on our agenda, right?
Okay.
That is number 6, we should be discussing that at that time.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, we will get to that. Yes.
Just wondering, you said you have 9 maximum?
Yes.
Doesn't that mean you need 5 for a quorum?
9
Our
maximum
constitution,
amount.
yeah.
It states
9 maximum.
3 in our
It states 3 in our
constitution.
For a quorum.
Yes.
But you're only allowing a minimum of 7 directors? Between 7 and 9?
No, that's what we need to fill
Be-
tonight.
Between 7 and 9 directors.
Can I just clarify too? It's for what's being voted on. We actually had 9 members. We had 3 individuals step down for mental health reasons, and we had 1 individual pass away in this last year. We had appointed Dwayne in the meantime, but we hadn't found any other people to fill that position, hence why we've been kind of advertising for these positions for tonight, to ensure that we get them elected.
So how many actual positions do you have available? Is Dwayne?
So there is
Okay.
2 filled.
2, okay.
There's 2 filled.
So you
Now
have
will
potential for
remain, so
7
there are
more.
7.
Yes.
Who are the 2, Melissa?
Okay, it is Louise
Yes.
and Claudette.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we follow the agenda?
Yes, please.
I think that people just need to know ahead of time who
You
we're
can follow
voting
the
for.
agenda.
Yeah, but it was
If you're
part of
too
the
slow to
introduction.
understand.
Excuse
No,
me,
it
we
was
don't
part
need
of
that.
the introduction, that's why.
That's completely inappropriate.
Follow the agenda, this is a business table. The
Yeah,
agenda
it
is
was part of
incorrect.
the introduction.
Can we approve the agenda?
It's already been approved.
Okay, it's been seconded. Can we approve it, please? Show of hands. Is there anybody who would not like to approve the agenda? Okay, we've approved the agenda. Thank you. I'm going to ask Melissa, because she's got a bigger voice than me, to to read the purpose of the society before we get started here. Do you have that one? Number two, you want to
Do you want me to read it verbatim? Yes?
Yes. Just this piece, number 2 on this.
All right. This is listed in our Constitution, and this is available on our website as well. The purpose of this society are: A, to relieve those who suffer distress, loneliness, or despair as a result of being disadvantaged or oppressed in the pursuit of basic human need. B, to provide for these people a drop-in center dedicated to their physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being, where they are and other compassionate people might offer other acceptance, support, enrichment, and hope, might share or exchange any surpluses of food, clothing, or household goods, and enjoy the opportunity to participate in the operations of the center. C, to nurture the community's concern for these circumstances of suffering and a willingness to respond to people's needs, either directly or through support of social service agencies. D, to cooperate with other organizations, persons, or authorities in arrangements, activities, or projects as shall be deemed to serve these purposes.
Thank you, Melissa. And that is why we're here this evening, and that is why we exist and do what we do. So thank you for coming. Now, we have a guest speaker this evening. Deb McIntosh has come over from the Community Harvest Food Bank and Drop-In Center and Shelter in Castlegar. And she has sometimes commented on some of the Facebook things and whatnot, and we just really thought that she had a good voice and some great wisdom to share with us, and so we're going to share it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming here tonight and showing up and being concerned about your community first and foremost. Before I carry on, Henny Hennegrath here is another director with our food bank and shelter in Castlegar, and she's here because we care. We care what happens in the Kootenai region. It affects all of us. If it doesn't work here, it affects us in Castlegar. If it doesn't work in Castlegar, it's going to affect you here. So I understand there's been some issues, and I get it. I've been on some of the sites and I've read some of the stuff, and I understand the concern. I really do. I'm also a former politician, so I know it from that side as well. So we at Community Harvest Food Bank have been doing this for about 25 years. We are all volunteers, there's no paid staff, and we do include our clientele in working and operating it. I've raised my children, I don't need to raise any more. They're adults, they can work on their own. They've accepted it, they love it, they nurture it, and it has become theirs. We get no government funding. The community and the business community supports us. They give us between $90,000 and $100,000 in donations a year. That allows us to spend approximately $5,000 to $6,000 on groceries every month, because we buy, we don't depend on donations coming in. We buy what the clients need, not what people think they should have. We run a shelter, an unmanned shelter in a motel. We have a unit. It's a motel that rents out to people that live there all the time. It's not actually a motel anymore. It's unmanned. It can sleep up to 5 people. We normally have about 3 in there. Anything more becomes a little bit of a party, and then I get called at night and I get cranky. So I don't like that. And it also interrupts people that are paying rent to be there. We have a drop-in center at the food bank where we provide a hot meal or sandwiches or whatever. But more than that, what we provide is camaraderie, respect, community, love, sometimes fights with me, arguing with people usually, and lots of opinions on how it should be run in the community. And what we do is we solicit opinions from people. We've never had an issue with the business community. We've never had an issue with city council. And we've never had an issue with residents. Our food bank is in the basement of a church in the residential area. Our clients are told to come, respect it, or it's gone. It's simple as that. And it works. Maybe I'm a bit of a hard ass. I don't take any crap from people. You either come there, operate it, run it, make it your own, or go elsewhere. Now, we don't have the homeless population that you guys have here. We have a homeless population, it's cropping up all the time, it's getting more and more. The important thing for us to realize is that they're people. Before anything else that you want to label them, they're people. They're humans, they're somebody's child, somebody's brother, sister, whatever. We can go on and on. Yes, there's criminal activity, without a doubt. To say anything other would be a lie. Yep, there's mental health. You betcha. And we see it on a daily basis. Addiction goes without saying. It's there. So what can you do about that? Right? What do? What you do is you bring them in and you talk to them. You make them feel connected to their community. You give them opportunities. Say, if you guys want to have a nice hot meal, let's discuss what it is. Belly up to the bar, so to speak, and put your 2 cents in and help out. We've all got jobs. We're busy people. So, what are you going to cook? Who's going to serve it? So the majority of our volunteers that are helping out are our clientele. They open up and they lock up. Because that's how much they buy into the service that they have. The service that they in turn can provide to other people in the community. That they can say, hey, I see you're struggling. Come to our place. You can have some food. You can have some conversation. You can get connected with other agencies. We have mental health stop in. They send the worker up. And it works. It really works. But it only works because we give them respect, and they in turn respect us back. Do we have to kick people out once in a while? Sure. Sometimes I'm crankier than hell, and somebody comes in and they're acting like a jackass. Well, get out. And it's usually not me saying it. It's usually the other people using it. Saying, this is our safe spot. This is what we need. This is what we deserve, and you're not going to ruin it. So if you can't get here, hit the road. Because I can have them run it all week long and not have to show up there. Maybe once or twice. But they understand the importance of having a place that they can call their own. They understand that when somebody comes in and says, I'm from Safeway, and we just wanted to drop off $1,000 in gift cards because the greater community of Castlegar has used those little $2 swipe things, donated them to go to the food bank. So they see that. And they in turn have more respect for the business community. They're not going to go in there and rip them off. They just got $1,000. The lady across the street comes over and says, I want to give my monthly $100 check to make sure that these programs carry on. Because they're worth it. Because people matter. Community matters. And without that, you are going to have criminal activity, despair, all sorts of bullshit on your streets. It's going to happen. Because people need to feel connected. They need to feel what they have is something that they can buy into. Now, I understand things went wild here. I get it. Things went crazy, and there was a lot of things happening. And there's no changing what has happened. Once you've been violated, you feel violated, and that's how do you change that? You can't. But it can in time. You don't have to accept it, but you don't have to fight it. You can tell people, I hate the program, I've seen what it does, people in and out, they're using drugs, there's mental health, there's people coughing the squat on the sidewalk, Jesus Christ, my business is failing, what am I gonna do? Because of these people. How about coming over to the agency, sitting down with some of these people and talking to them? How about making friendships instead of enemies? How about making community connections? Some of these people are hurting units. They are living a life that you wouldn't want for anyone that you knew or loved or cared about. They're just people. They just want to have a house and they just want to eat. We're talking a bed and craft dinner, for God's sakes. You know, really in the greater picture of things, that's all they want. They want to be able to walk down the street and say, hi, how are you? And you're not going to say, oh, you're from the shelter, get away, you're going to harm me. Or you're from the soup kitchen. Or you're one of those. Ooh. I invite people over to my home. I have them volunteering for me at work. I run the museum and local heritage park. They do all sorts of great things. They just want to be accepted. That's all they want. And it's a big step for some of them because they lived really shitty lives. So climbing that ladder maybe takes a while, right? Maybe takes years. But they get there. Some won't, obviously, some won't. But you can't be a catch-all for everyone. It is worked in Castlegar because of compassion, empathy, trust of the people who's running it. Because we don't abuse it. We make people accountable. Because I have no problem if shutting it down. I've already lost one over there. Already lost. I haven't even got my There's been a couple of times where people have come in and they've been stupid and acting up. Or they say, we're not going to help. Well, guess what? I'm not doing it for you. So let's lock up and call it a day. Done it a few times. And it makes them stand back and realize what they have. I tell people, we're volunteers. We could volunteer anywhere, but we choose to be with these people who have turned out to be tremendous friends. One of them house sits for me when I go away. I trust them in my place of business. They're just people. They just need a chance. And given that chance, you will find that you have a pool of people that have numerous talents, that will do numerous wonderful things, that just connects the community. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a fabulous story. You could look at you and say, you know, I'm sure you have a story. I don't know where you are on side yay or nay. But you have a story, but somebody somewhere may have given you a chance to prove yourself. I know somebody gave me a chance to prove myself. Absolutely. I was a single mom on welfare. I wasn't doing very good. People reached out to me. They said, Deb, you're part of the community. This is your community as well. And what a gift it was. I spent 16 years on council, serving my community because people believed in me. I've spent 25 years at the Heritage Society running our parks and our historic things because people believe in me. And why do they believe in me? Because they gave me a chance and I stepped up. And that's all you need. People need a hand up, not a hand out. Really, it's just human nature. Be kind. Show some compassion. Take no shit. If people are stealing from you, deal with it. However, don't hold these fine folks accountable for every crappy thing that's ever happened in Grand Forks. Because these folks can go away, but the problem's not going away. It's still going to be here. It's just going to be unmanaged. So, being a former politician, I could talk forever. So Henny's already Henny's timing me. So all I'm saying, folks, is that there's a model out there that works. I've talked to these wonderful people and heard what they're doing. I've been on some of the sites, heard the other stuff. I don't blame you for being mad. There's some really bad things that happen. But there's way more good that can happen than that. I know Grand Forks has been hit hard. But if you guys took all the love and compassion and the empathy that was poured upon Grand Forks when the floods came from the greater BC area and did that with your own community, you guys would flourish. You guys would be the talk of BC. Because right now we know, everyone knows you're going through a hard time. And my gosh, people just want to live. How they live is up to them. We can't dictate how that is or what that looks like. People have the right to live the way they want to live. People have the right to belong to a community. Most people just want to be like everyone else and go for coffee at Starbucks or Tim Hortons. That's all they want. Nobody really wants to live in a shelter. Nobody really wants to be at a warming center. No one really wants to go and have to go to a free lunch. People just want to be like everyone else. And I tell you, the folks in your community are some pretty outstanding people. So I ask you to maybe look past some of the stuff that has happened. Look at the greater good. Look at the people that can be helped. They're a fabulous resource. They deserve to be in a community. They need to be in a community. And we all just need to be kinder to one another. We need to have compassion and love. And really, folks, that's it. That's all I've got to say. The model works. The people that you can help will thank you for the rest of their lives. And like I say, I could go on forever, get the hook. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. That was wonderful. Yeah. Melissa and I went over and visited Deb last spring, actually before a flood, I believe. And we're really impressed with her program. Then Tammy and I went over and visited again. And so, yeah, we, really admire what you've done, and really thank you for coming here to see us tonight. And to
We're
share
only
with
as
us.
strong as our community, right?
We are, yeah. Thank you. Okay, if Kim can read the minutes from last year's AGM, please.
I will try and talk louder now. So our last year's meeting was on May 3rd. It was called to order at 7 o'clock. We had board introductions and greetings. We had our agenda approved and our minutes read. We had a guest speaker, Donna Dean from the RBKB, that spoke. And then we had our reports. We had our chair's report done by Tammy Battersby due to the absence of our chairperson. We did have a coordinator's report done by Melissa Shoga. And then we had a financial report done by Christy Wheaton. We had nominations and elections for new directors. 5 positions to be filled and 5 names were nominated. Due to acclamation, the 5 names stood. The names of the people with a 2-year term were Teresa Raven, Louise Heck, Dennis Terminal, Ian Mitchell, and Claudette Pearson. The names of people with a 1-year term were Kim McClellan, Jake Raven, and Tammy Battersby. The meeting was adjourned at 8:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to accept Kim's report?
Yeah.
You seconded? Thank you. All right. All approved then, this report? Okay. Anybody? Seconded?
Okay.
All right, thank you. I'll give our chair's report now for this year. Whispers of Hope origin goes back 23 years when a space was rented by a few private citizens of our faith community to provide refreshments and coffee to some seemingly disconnected individuals. It was first known as Hands of Mercy, then Community Hands of Mercy, and eventually the organization was registered as Whispers of Hope, which is now a registered charity, employing 3 people on a regular basis and overseen by this advisory board. Over the years, the community need, not just in Grand Forks, but throughout BC, has grown and become more evident, and as the cost of living continues to rise, more and more people are desperate to make ends meet. As the need grew, so did the service. Hot meals eventually replace pastries. From the start, it was also clear that there was as much need for human connection as there was for meals. The drop-in was used by a full range of people, including the elderly, widows, homeless, and families. Our thrift store continues to provide low-cost household items and clothing, as well as free items to those who are in deeper need. Proceeds from the thrift store go to help operate the kitchen when it's operating. After losing our kitchen space and the devastating flooding of our community a year ago, Whispers has been struggling to secure a suitable location to resume offering full kitchen services, and we do see our goal in sight. Not only was our kitchen lost in the spring of 2018, Beth's shelter was also closed permanently. In December, with no plan in place for those who were sleeping out in the elements, Whispers agreed to provide the administrative oversight for the warming center. With the quickly assembled committee of community professionals and stakeholders, the warming center opened in January, and a new chapter in a never-ending story. Can I have a motion to accept? First and seconded. Okay. Can I have it approved then? All approved? Anyone who doesn't want to approve? Thank you. Also, last year, one of our longstanding board members, who has been on our board for many years, he took a brief break and came back to us. Jake Raven left us. He passed away last year, and that just was very sad for all of us. And we would like to recognize Jake. We'd like Teresa to come and accept this for Jake. Yes. We'd like actually to recognize the whole Raven family because they have just been so committed and so helpful over the years, and we love them.
Thank you.
Now I would like to ask Melissa to give the board report.
Hi there. I have to start off with an apology. That's just my Canadian way. I had prepared a presentation and technical difficulties have made it so I cannot show you the slideshow. I was hoping to break up all this chatter with a bit of images for you. I do have copies of the slides in the agenda package, so please do flip through it and have a little bit of color in your lives. If anyone on this end needs a copy, I have a couple right here. Hopefully it's a little less boring with some images.
Is there more on the table?
Yeah, and there should be some more over there. Please do share with your neighbor. I apologize for the small size. On our website, on our history page, I actually have my 2017 presentation, and I will be putting the 2018 presentation up there as well. So you will have a chance to view it after the fact. I apologize, it's not quite the full effect here. It was really hard reviewing 2018 and looking at a recap of the year. It has put such a weight on my heart. There was so much loss and devastation that our community felt, and we really felt that as well with the loss of our drop-in center. Whispers of Hope, I always like to say, is connecting dots all the time. We don't always have the answers, but oftentimes we'll help you find the resources or the answers to the questions that you're looking for. But really, what we are is more like a funnel. We are a one-stop shop for volunteer efforts, for community donations, and for service providers to really reach the people that are in need. And alternatively, for those who are in need, oftentimes they can come to that one-stop shop and connect with us and either receive the help or, again, have the opportunity for us to help them find where they need it. We work with so many groups in the Boundary. It's hard to name them all, but some big ones are the Boundary Resource Center, the Food Bank and Hamper programs, mental health and substance use, the Phoenix Foundation, Community Futures, Women's Coalition, Anchors, Blessings Boutique, several of the church groups, and lots of the grocery stores and local farmers, probably almost all of them, utilize us as a place to donate to or to provide services. And the generosity in this community is overwhelming, you guys. We would not exist if it was not for the generous donations and the time that people put in to help one another. It really is beautiful. So to look at a bit of the timeline of 2018, it's almost a blur the last 2 years. You have to kind of chunk it out. January, we started off presenting to council. We had been given a 6-month eviction notice, and we went to them to try and plead to them to honor our lease agreement, to let us stay at least until the end of March or the end of our lease agreement. And of course, we were successful with that. We were very happy to show that we had taken safety considerations covered all the safety aspects, corrected behaviors, and really tightened the ship. In March, we saw the thrift store close. It was about March 17th, and then the community kitchen followed not long after that on the 28th. When April came around, we were able to find another location for the thrift store, so we were open by April 3rd. We were only closed for about 2 weeks for our thrift store. It was a really quick turnaround. And unfortunately, even long before we lost the building, we had been looking and struggling to find an alternative, whether it be a rental or a purchase or anything for our community kitchen. In April, we decided to purchase the commercial kitchen trailer that was Del's Bistro, that was at Canco. We felt that that could be a really good opportunity for us to resume services temporarily in a much smaller capacity and have a little bit more flexibility in options as to where we could place it. When May came, so did the flood. And that was just, like I say, gut-wrenching. You know, thankfully our thrift store was open. We were almost feet away from the water as well and being affected ourselves, but we stayed open and we provided help to those who needed it the most. I had people coming in without shoes on their feet. They didn't have time when they scurried from their houses to seek safety. And it was a shame to not be able to provide the support that I know the kitchen could have as well, but was so grateful to see these other organizations from out of town, the Red Cross and the Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, all these groups really saved our butts in a huge way. I don't think this community could have pulled through without those organizations, and so that was a blessing. But at the same time, so we're helping people, but we're feeling this loss, we're not rising to the challenge, we're not helping people the way we know we can. And so that was hard. It was like our hands were tied behind our backs. We started lettering and advertising for needing help finding a new location for our trailer. Here we had this glorious option and no way to hook it up to utilities or water or provide any services. We've nicknamed it our albatross because it was hanging around our neck and kind of weighed us down, unfortunately, in the end. January and July, we saw our first ever markets. We started to branch out a little bit beyond the thrift store and really get more engaged in the community, show what we were offering and connect with people. It was really fun. That would be the Saturday markets. We also had some coverage for CBC and the Gazette, trying to again branch out and show what location options there could be for our trailer. In August and September, we developed a new PR campaign, public relations campaign called New Beginnings. We were trying to reach out to the community and get people to participate. Our slogan was a community working together. So yes, we were seeking a location. We were also hoping to bring back some of that camaraderie we were missing. So we held about 4 dinners and we had a strategic planning session, an opportunity for people to weigh in. It wasn't nearly as attended as we would have liked, but hopefully moving forward we can keep up that momentum. We also were then able to clean and move our storage containers. So with the flood, although we had moved out, our sea containers and our storage was still at that location. All of our kitchen supplies, everything was packed up, had been hit and destroyed. We lost cabinets, we lost fridges, we lost utensils, from the smallest things to the biggest things. It was unfortunate. By the time October came around, we were doing presentations to the Phoenix Foundation at their community social, again trying to create awareness and spread the word for our strategic planning session. And in October we had our first dinner, and it was really fun, so I'll talk about that a little bit more after. As of November, we had our final dinner and we held our strategic planning session. Really good to have the feedback. It wasn't, we had a strategic planning session prior to that in 2015, and it was nice to kind of revisit it and see where there were similarities, where we still had the same values or some of the same goals, and then how things had changed over just a couple of years. It's something I hope that we continue to do maybe every couple of years or every year if necessary. I think it's good to keep your finger on the pulse. Losing the drop-in center, that was hard. We had a bit of a celebration the day after the kitchen closed. It was kind of somber, but it was also fun. It gave us a chance to dance it out a little bit and kind of connect with the people we were working with, the people we were serving, and remind them that the community is still there even though the center isn't. If you guys aren't looking at this, there's a glorious picture of some of the meals that we had served. Sylvia's lovely work. I'd just like to take a round of applause for Sylvia and anytime we had service providers or other people come in just to kind of get a taste for what we're doing, they were in awe of the quality of food that we were putting out. And it really was because of love and because of the donations from the community, whether it be from farmers or the grocery stores. It was really amazing to see with such a small budget what was able to come out and how nourishing it was for the folks. Right beside those glorious images, we see a comparison of the average meals per day for 2017 versus 2018, and this breaks my heart. You see upwards in October, 68, 69 meals per day, comparative to about 3 a day that we were able to offer in bagged lunches out of our thrift store. So we went from providing these really robust community meals on a regular basis, anywhere from 50 to 60 meals in a day, to some months before and after the flood, April, May, June, we weren't providing any services. We couldn't do anything. We were just barely getting on our feet. Thankfully, during that time is when Salvation Army was in town, and they were providing, I believe, 3 meals a day out of their mobile truck. It was amazing to see what can be done when the support is there. It really was beautiful. So, yeah, not even a comparison, and it's sad to see that, and I'm happy that one day we'll be getting back up there, getting food in the bellies. We had this duality going on between the thrift store carrying on and staying strong, and the kitchen struggling to find any kind of footing. I show an example here of some of the sales that we did for flood victims. Not just sales, we offered several items for free, whether it be toiletries, towels, clothing, household items, and we even offered that several months after the flood, and even continue to do so into this year. You don't really know what all you've lost or how you're affected until you get to that point. And so people have been rebuilding their lives ever since, and I'm happy to say that we've helped our little bit. And at the same time, here we were crying and looking and trying to find our kitchen space so that we could be whole again. The thrift store really has been thriving on 3rd Street. It's a beautiful location. We have some great neighbors, nice and colorful. We keep it well organized, and people are loving it. We see that same kind of the smiles, people coming in. You know, even if we don't have meals to provide, we have bagged lunches, we have snacks, we have juice boxes. If somebody's just feeling a little faint from the day while they're shopping, we can offer that to them. If somebody has no other options and they're destitute, they know they can come to us for help too. So again, we see the spectrum of need, or even non-need. Sometimes people just want to be a part of something and participate, and we're happy to be providing that. With the markets, we also done a few fun events. One of the thing was our fashion show in the summer during our the Equinox Festival. And so we'd like to keep that up as well and keep engaged with the community and keep having fun events for people to show off how thrifty and fashionable they can be. The New Beginnings campaign. That was a good concept. that unfortunately could have been better executed. We needed far more participants in order for it to be successful. At 3 of our dinners, we saw about 35 to 40 people come and participate and hear the presentations, ask questions, kind of put their 2 cents in, and that was really great. Our last dinner was quite well attended because it was also in combination with a service. Somebody had passed away and somebody who suffered from mental health illness. So it was an opportunity for us to educate folks, to talk about advocacy for mental health and how important it is. And it was also a time for us to celebrate their life and talk about the future of our community and what it takes to be healthy and whole again. So we saw more like 70, 80 folks at that dinner, and that was, you know, sad, but at the same time really beautiful. And I was happy to see that. For our strategic planning session, of all those dinners and all that time, I think we had about 10 or 12 people come to our strategic planning session and really sit down and discuss what our long-term, short-term goals were, where we see ourselves, what kind of decisions we want to make, and really it takes far more heads at the table. So perhaps this is something we need to be doing again this year because there's a lot of energy and a lot of momentum. Let's put that in a positive direction. And really, I guess I want to end this off encouraging people that there are many cogs in this wheel. There's the community support, there's harm reduction, and there's poverty reduction. These are really big, complicated issues with so many nuances to them. This is not something that we can easily solve. And I want to challenge you all to be a part of it. How can we creatively come together to not just find Band-Aid solutions, to find real solutions? And in the meantime, let's help and support each other. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve Melissa's report, please? Thank you. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Anybody opposed?
Are you able to ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry. I do have an opportunity for questions and answers about the 2018 year.
Oh, okay. I don't know at what point, there's a lot of new members here tonight. And I was just wondering if at this point or some point, if you might be able to just tell us who are the people that are working with Whispers, for the benefit of anybody that doesn't know.
For staff members
And
and
to introduce us to the people that work for Whispers. You mentioned Sylvia.
well, yes, that's actually to be doing the kitchen is 2019. So really, we've got Laura and Debbie at the front over there. They are workers in the store alongside me, and those are the only staff members for 2018. Yeah.
Well, I just thought, it'd be good for people to know who the people are working for Whispers and at the kitchen.
Well, thankfully, if you signed up to be members, we do have your contact information, and hopefully you've been able to provide an email address. Because for the first time ever, we've developed an e-newsletter, or an emailing list, and we'd love to do an e-newsletter where we're sharing articles, we're sharing information, and as well, this is something we'd like to be getting feedback on to know what should we be putting on our website. And we've discussed quite a bit about having perhaps group shots of staff and having a list of names. We do have a list of names for board of directors, but people are a little bit camera shy. Not that they necessarily want to hide, but that, it's just a personality trait. But I do want to point out too, if you haven't had a chance, well, thank you. The 2019 information, I do have some of the information from our open house up on the board. Anyone that was able to come during that week, we wrote down any concerns that they had, we wrote down ideas that they were sharing in a collaborative approach. So we're sharing all of that information that was disclosed with us, and again, we're going to try and transpose that onto the website so it's available to the public at large. I've also put over there some blank pages. So if at the end of this you have some concerns still, or you have some ideas still, please do take a moment to scribble on there and share with us, and we will be addressing these things, not necessarily individually, but publicly, right? So please do so. Take the time to engage and leave any questions, concerns, or ideas that you have. We're not trying to shut down that from happening. We're just trying to stay on point with the AGM for last year. So thank you so much. Any other questions about 2018 at all? Okay, thank you. And you could always reach out if something pops in your head later tonight or after the fact. We have emails, we have a Facebook page. We're at the store Monday to Saturday. Come down and chat. It's always fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. I'd now like to ask Christy Wheaton, our bookkeeper, to give our financial report for the 2018 year.
Thank you, Christy. Let's talk to Christy too.
So you should have a copy of the financial report in your package. So if you want to turn to the income statement. So we're just talking about 2018, but you're given the actual 2017 numbers also. And if ever you want to see what these numbers are, because we're a registered charity, or Whispers is a registered charity, I don't actually sit on their board. I'm just I'm the bookkeeper. Charity return needs to be filled out each year and sent in, and so all those numbers are also actually on the charity site, and I have been on there today to make sure our 2018 stuff hasn't been uploaded yet, but the 2017 stuff is all on there as well. So you can always check and see what's going on there too. Okay, so if we want to look at the first column, that's the 2018 stuff. So from January to December, we start out with some Phoenix Foundation grant money of $2,785.30, and that money was to go towards an enclosed trailer and also a stove. The thrift store brought in $76,845.89 as opposed to the year before, which was $97,000. And there is a bit of a discrepancy there, partially because of floods, partially because of the other site closing down and moving over, and just there was a bit of tumultuous stuff there at the beginning of the year. So the sales kind of went down, and also we were doing closeout sales too, right? So things were discounted at that time as well. We didn't do any fundraising of bottles for 2018. That was some bins that were in front of the thrift store that was there previously, and those were taken out. So there isn't any income for that. The giving grant revenue was $38,500, and we had applied, or Whispered had applied for that money to be for the year before we applied. Normally it comes before December 31st, and this year it actually came in February or in March. So it shows up in 2018, but really it's for the year before. So the following, that's why you don't see it in the 2017 stuff, because in 2016's financials, if there was one more column there, it was actually double paid that year, because we got paid at the beginning and then we got paid towards the end, and so that's where the numbers are missing for 2017. So donations, $8,657 as opposed to $14,631 from the year before. Recycled clothing, again, we didn't do any recycled clothing. We didn't have any summer students or any work programs in 2018. A lot of those, like the summer students and the work BC, had to do with the community kitchen, and so we didn't have the kitchen, so we didn't have anybody to employ in that particular area. This next year in 2018, we had $57 of interest revenue and $172 of PST. So a total revenue of $127,018.60. Expenses, you can see the payroll altogether, so the coordinator, kitchen wages, thrift store was $92,087. As opposed to the year before, which was $111.53. So there was a discrepancy again because the kitchen wasn't running. So if we go into down into the general expenses, accounting and legal was $1,757 as opposed to $1,840 the year before. Some advertising, $1,131 as opposed to $2,607. We didn't have any bread collection last year, and business fees and licenses, there's a difference here that there was only just the $91.25, because the year before, when we were with the city, they required that we paid a percentage of the sales that came in that were due strictly to the thrift store. And because we were not there in 2018, we didn't have the large fee, like a large cost during that time. Courier and postage is $17.44, over $10 from the year before. We have debit card charges of $517 as opposed to $509. The depreciation on asset expense is quite a bit higher this year because we had to close out all the inventory that we had. All the food and stuff was gone. We didn't have the kitchen anymore. We also, again, like Melissa said, lost cabinets and fridges, stoves, microwaves, like all the stuff that was in the containers that we had taken out or that they had taken out of the building and were in the containers at the back were flooded and they were contaminated and stuff, so we lost a bunch of items. Plus, we are no longer, our lease actually was supposed to go into June, and so we were able to write up more and we had to close off all of the leaseholder expenses of stuff that we did to the building in order to use it. So education and training was $430 as opposed to $450. Garbage, $16.50 as opposed to the year before, which was $32.50. The groceries were $13,141 as opposed to $13,317 the year before. Our insurance was $1,718 this year as opposed to $2,337 the year before. Interest and bank charges, $433 as opposed to $361.92 the year before. Janitorial is $1,450 and we had $1,578 the year before. Kitchen supplies, of course, are down, and we still had some kitchen supplies even though the kitchen closed. We were still open until the end of March last year, and then we had some expenses around moving our trailer. Moving it from one place to the other, so there were some expenses that got put into the kitchen as well. Office supplies were $569 as opposed to $322 the year before. Then we have some motor vehicle expenses at $1,619.52, and there's a large increase because it was only $600 the year before because the previous coordinator was paid because we didn't have a vehicle, so the coordinator used their personal vehicle to do pickups and go to the garbage dump and to run around and do all their things. And so when that person left, Melissa had, started taking over using her vehicle, and she wasn't repaid that money, so the money then was repaid to her in 2018 for the 2017 stuff. So it's overinflated for that reason. So then we have a rental expense of $14,813 as opposed to only $2,053. And that's because we needed to start renting in the new location as opposed to when we were in the city, we paid a fee of a portion of our sales as basically as a rental. Repairs and maintenance, $4,675 as opposed to $2,386. And part of this has to do with getting ready and stuff for our new location and moving and all that kind of stuff. Then we go down to telephone and internet, and it's $1,526 as opposed to $2,499, and that's because we had two phones over in the other location. One was for the actual, for the guests to be able to use too, so we had one in the office and the thrift store and one there. So when we moved to the thrift store, we only needed one, so we were able to save some money in that area. Utilities were $3,381 as opposed to $6,360 because we only had one location, and it's much cheaper to actually, I don't know what it was about that other area, but the utilities were so high in that last building that we were at, and in this one, it's been much, let's say, efficient to run. So I think, where are we at here? Volunteer meals and expenses, we don't have anything. We had some from the year before. So altogether, your total general admin is $69,422. So if we take all of our expenses with the payroll and with the general admin, you've got $161,509. And if you take how much income we had, which was $127,008 minus that, you're actually in a deficit of $34,000. I think it was $34,491. So we think, oh, that's a lot of money, but that has to do also with the gaming grant and the way the gaming grant comes in. And so we had money from 2016 carry over. And so we, if you look at the balance sheet, you'll be able to see that at December 31st, in our savings account, we had $12,742, checking account $19,348, gaming account $13,584. So, does anybody have any questions? Catherine?
I have a question, but I'll direct it to the chair, because it's a speculative answer. So Louise, do you feel that the donations were down? Why do you feel donations were down?
I can comment on that.
We're gonna pass it on.
If that's okay.
Sure.
I believe it's because without the community kitchen, there's less inspiring people to donate to it. I've had many people say, oh, let me know as soon as the kitchen's open, I'd love to make a big donation. So when all we're running is our thrift store, and it even though we are a nonprofit, it has a for-profit vibe to it. People don't necessarily know what all they're contributing to if they're donating just to the thrift store. Really, in the end, they're likely donating to the fact that we're offering so many free items to those who are in need. And in the end, any surplus, if any, that we make from the thrift store does go to the community kitchen. Otherwise, all donations made go directly to the community kitchen, because for quite some time now, we've struggled with the thrift store to break even. Yeah. So I really think people are far more compelled to donate when we have the community kitchen running, and that's the difference you're seeing.
Great.
There is actually a couple of very large donors that would usually donate close to $4,000, and that was food, like they would buy groceries. So that is part of the reason why.
So are those donations also considered in-kind donations?
Right, exactly. So what you would see is the donation up top, and then underneath there'd be groceries. There would be an expense, so they actually offset each other. So we didn't have that this year because we didn't have the kitchen. They got their donations like up until March. Really, it was January, February, because we knew that it was closing in March, and we were using up everything that we had in the freezers and fridges and stuff like that.
Can you tell me why the summer student wages in Work BC are actually in revenue and not in expenses? Were they grants that were given to you?
Exactly, they're revenue that came in from the government. And like I said, we didn't have them this year because they had to be.
No, I'm talking about just 2017.
Yeah, they're revenue because that's the money that's given to us, so we have to recognize it as revenue, and then it comes out as an expense in the payroll.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Catherine?
Under payroll expenses for coordinator,
Yeah.
are they, is that including benefits, or are we just looking at straight salary?
We don't have benefits at this point.
There are lots of benefits.
So it's not covering health, additional, any of that? Okay.
No? Okay.
Can we have a motion to approve? Do you have a question? Or is that a
No motion,
Motion
please.
to approve, okay. Seconder, Lorraine? We're all good with that? Accepted? Okay. Anyone not accepting? Okay, thank you. Okay. So having got all of that done, we are on to the nomination and election of new directors, and we're going to call on Ian. Aren't we?
You're able to come help Ian?
All right.
Yeah. So I've got a dry erase marker.
We got a
I'm
question
thinking,
Sorry? Yeah, I've got a question. Based on the Societies Act, we're talking Division 2, number 50, removal of directors. We'd like to call for a resolution to remove author Claudette Parasim regarding her bullying, name-calling, and all-around disrespect for her position under S50 of the Societies Act.
Are you a
Can you
lawyer?
read S50? Because I don't know off the top of my head.
S50 says, number 1, a director of a society may be removed from office, A, by special resolution, despite any provision of the bylaws,
Or B, without limiting paragraph A by the method, if any, provided for in the bylaws. Number 2, unless the bylaws provide otherwise, if a director is removed from office under subsection number 1, an individual may be elected or appointed by ordinary resolution to serve as director for the balance of the term of the removed director.
Isn't it my understanding that you should be a director first, then remove me?
I have no idea. I'm just telling you what it says here. Yeah, B.
Can I speak to this as well? Just
Do you want me to finish reading it?
Okay, sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, B, liability that by any enactment or rule of law or equity would otherwise attach to the director in respect of negligence, default, breach of duty, or breach of trust of which the director may be guilty in relation to the society.
I just want to say that, and you're probably not going to...
What did I do for you?
Whatever. There have been several meetings where Claudette has reluctantly come to us and said, you guys, I screwed up. I let my mouth get carried away online. And we have constantly reassured her that she represents herself online more so than she does represent the directors. And I know that she even states that very commonly and says, you know, yes, I'm on the board, but this is my opinion on this. And sometimes with some of the statements that are made on there, you know, it's hard for people to bite their tongue. And it's also a lot harder for people to put their neck out there. And I know that she's been berated and already suffered the consequences for the actions that she said. I don't think that Claudette, as a director online, even if she has used maybe foul language or been harsh towards somebody, ever gone against the purposes of our society. Claudette has been a valuable member on this board and has contributed with so many positive ideas in helping us achieve our purpose. So I think it would be a big disservice to this board to not have somebody like Claudette representative. She has so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of legal jargon that probably most of the room doesn't understand what she said. So my question is this someone trying to remove someone and then placing one of their own?
No.
Or you want to vote one of your own on?
No, then it would go to nomination.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And so you bring enough people that you think you're going to nominate?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Just
I don't have a copy of the Societies Act in front of me, unfortunately, and I don't have my phone to look this up. But when you're reading pieces from the Societies Act, and sorry, this is a statement rather than a question, but I will have a question. When you're reading sections of the Societies Act, it will give all the preambles to every single, Part B, number 2, I, all that kind of stuff. And so what we really need to know is what is the preamble to that statement that was just read. And then the secondary question to that is who removes? Membership or the board of directors at the time that the information becomes apparent? In my understanding, if a board member is ever removed from a board, it comes from the board or the following year's AGM. So it would come to a motion now and sit on the books for the year to go into next year's 2019's AGM to be removed then or to not be allowed. In the meantime, there would be discussion amongst the board members who are elected for their 1-year, 2-year, 3-year terms, whatever that group has. They can make the decision with the board at the time, whoever is elected tonight, as well as, they can make that determination in conversation with the board member who it is deemed to have, whose name may have come up at a meeting tonight. A board member under the Societies Act cannot be removed at the time of an AGM as a result of actions in the past.
Are you a lawyer?
No, but I do know the Societies Act. I have been on multitudes of boards, and I'm not going to argue the little points with you. If you have it in front of you, okay. And if anybody wants to read the preambles, which will be about 4 pages long, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to argue it tonight, but I have been on another board
Okay.
where someone was asked to be removed by a member.
Okay, you
And
know, I'm sorry.
it can't happen.
We don't have all that information here right now. Tammy would like to speak.
So if it pleases the chair, I would like to speak to this. First off, it is appropriate to send an email or a phone call or a connection with the board to make them aware. Second off, there's a time period involved here. So did said incident happen in 2018? Did it happen in 2019? And where's our burden of proof? And so we implore you, we beg you, because to date, over the last 2 years, we as a board have received no emails from the general public with their questions or concerns. We want those emails. So please, Anne, do send us an email with the information. Do send us an email with the proof, if you screenshotted it, if it's an email, if it was a conversation, at least give us a statement so that we can move forward with that information. But like legally, we can't just up and make a decision based on hearsay of somebody in the room.
I don't think it was hearsay, it was all over social media.
That doesn't then make it proof for me, ma'am. If I didn't see it, I didn't see it. So I'm asking you to please send it to the appropriate channels. So whispers.hope@hotmail.com is the email for the board. We practically have begged people to send their questions and concerns to whispers.hope@hotmail.com. We want your feedback.
Can I ask
Please
a
bring
question?
us the feedback.
Then why wasn't I informed that Whispers of Hope had signed a lease? It was never given out to me. Nobody came to my door until after the lease was signed. I
Yes,
never had any
before it
input
was
in that.
effect. But that's 2019, sir. You're for an AGM of 2018.
About 2018.
Or 2007.
Can
we just make sure that there's something in the notes or in the minutes
Yes, absolutely.
that comments to this, and then we can speak to it? Because I don't think it's fair to not do our research on this, and of course, we need to be better informed on that. So I think there should be a resolution, but I don't think it can happen tonight.
But please do send us the information so that we are empowered to move forward.
It does actually say despite any provision of the bylaw. Yeah.
You still can't remove people without due process.
Yeah.
Regardless of what that says, it still says you need to have due process. You can't just go around kicking people off.
Okay,
I'm gonna move on with the elections if you could, please.
I printed this out as part of Robert's rules. I don't know if you want to read it, I could. Yeah, it's just talking about nominations from the floor.
Okay. Before you start with nominations, just to comment further, please, on resolution from the floor. The reason I just jumped in is because I saw you pull out a chunk of Robert's rules. If you're going to refer to Robert's rules, you can in fact have a resolution from the floor, but you guys are involved in a procedural difficulty here in that you don't understand the procedure. Given that, there can be a resolution from the floor, but it's got to follow the order laid out in Robert's rules, which state that it gets taken as a resolution, then we have to speak to it, you're going to open it up for discussion, then there has to be a motion, etc., etc., etc. It has to follow that procedure. Now, if you're not familiar with it, I can understand that. I'm just, trying to lend some clarity to it here. I think your suggestion, Tammy, to entertain, formal complaints via email might be an idea, considering, the kind of that you're not familiar with the procedure. However, you do have to commit to respond in writing to each and every one of those communications.
Yes, which we do. There is a kickback if you do email whispers.hope@hotmail.com. There's an immediate email that you will receive that shares with you that your letter will be taken to the next board meeting and that it will be discussed and you will receive contact following that board meeting. In fact, we have how many days it will take. We haven't had to do that in the last 2 years because nobody sent us an email in the last 2 years.
And you
But
have
prior
two-
to that, we have connected back with people.
Okay, yeah, and then you have two avenues following that. I'm not familiar with your meeting structure. If you have a general meeting each month,
Yes.
do you?
Once a month, yes.
Once a month. It can be reintroduced on the following month's general meeting agenda. right? And it can take its form there and then go to director's meeting. But, you know,
Oh,
you've got to
yes.
follow procedure.
We're definitely not gonna ignore it, that's not something we wanna do, but we do, like you say, we're a little ignorant on the process. I took a snippet about nominations from the floor, just to make sure that we were doing that correctly, but Robert's Rules is quite a robust book.
Absolutely,
So-
I understand what you're saying, and, you know, given that, I wouldn't advise either side to pursue it any further at this point, because you're just gonna run into trouble with procedure, you're gonna have to back up on the whole deal anyway.
But we do commit to follow up in writing, like within the timeline given even. There's like an automatic response when somebody does send an email there that kind of stipulates what's expected of us once you've sent us a communication. So we would very much follow up and ensure that that gets the attention that it needs.
Yeah, ultimately, if there are grounds for removal, sorry, you have to entertain those via the procedure. And then, you know, it's gonna take its own course, but, you know, it's each step of the way, so,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and I hope we don't have to, but we would definitely entertain it.
it's all part of the game.
If there's grounds, we have a duty to.
Of course,
But-
yeah.
But the burden of proof in the grounds is what we would need. So,
Is this about elections?
I just need to know, you said about it goes to a general meeting and then the director's meeting. The general meeting, do the members get invited?
Okay, no, a general meeting, well, it is we call it a board meeting. It is open to the public, and if somebody wants to speak or have something discussed, they do need to send communication in advance in order for us to say whether there is that allowance on the agenda or not to accommodate that
And how
discussion.
many days in advance do you need that request?
Jeez, and it says on the automatic, I think it says 3 to 5. I can't remember. I feel like it's within a week.
Before the general
Yes.
meeting?
Generally, if you're gonna adopt your agenda at the general meeting or your director's meeting, which is open to the public, you have to adopt the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and you can
Yes.
either add or remove items at that point
We
in
can,
time.
yes. They're typically
So-
already pretty full, and there's only so much time. So that's where I mean, we may have to bump it to the following meeting. If you're getting touches within a few days of it happening, there may not be time to actually address those concerns at that meeting. Thank you.
Just curious, do you elect your executive board members from the board or from the membership?
From the board. So the membership will elect members of the board, and then the board gets together and defines position. I'd like to move on with the nominations now, please. And there are 7 positions available.
So, yeah, so I've been asked to be the elections officer for the meeting tonight. So my name is Ian Mitchell. I just full disclosure, I was previously a board member. And probably most of you know me by various things. Anyway, so here's the rules on nominations from the floor. As soon as the election officer opens nominations from the floor, any member can bring forth a nomination. A member should know beforehand if the person he or she wishes to nominate is both eligible and willing to serve. When the nomination is from the floor, a member does not have to get recognition, and often in small assemblies, a member can call out a name while still seated. A person can nominate himself or herself. A nomination does not need a second. A member can't nominate more than one person for an office until everyone has had the opportunity to make nominations. Nominees do not have to leave the room during the nominations, when the vote is taken, or when the vote is counted. A member can rise and decline the nomination during the nominating process. And after each nomination, the election officer repeats the name to the assembly. A motion to close nominations is usually not necessary unless it is apparent that members are nominating people just to honor them and that the nominees have no intention of serving. Usually the election officer closes nominations when no further nominations come forward from the assembly. If at any time during the nominating process a member realizes that he or she will be unable to serve if elected, the member should stand and request that his or her name be removed from the nomination. Removing your name during the nomination process is better than waiting until after you are elected.
There was a mention about eligibility for being a director's position. I know that there was some contesting of the member agreement. Well, when it comes to the director's agreement, this is a legally binding document that directors must agree and uphold in order to hold their position. I can read it out. It's a little bit more than the member agreement, and we don't necessarily outline the whole purpose. We expect that you know the purpose of the organization. I, whomever, Director of Whispers of Hope Benevolence Association, hereby confirm my membership in the corporate body, ascribe fully to its purposes, accept my election appointment as director on the board, and do further agree to set aside my own individual self-interest or role in other organizations whereby it might be perceived as a conflict of interest, to regard all people I meet with compassion and respect and act as a living example of the virtues of that the organization promotes, to participate with the organization's other directors in fulfilling a board's role, responsibility, and duties as set out in the terms of reference, and to fulfill the role, responsibilities, and duties of a director as set out by the board member governance policies, to participate in the director's self-evaluation, board, and organizational evaluation as requested, to attend, request, or instigate the meetings of directors or members needed to fulfill the duties, to be accountable to the organization's membership, to be sensitive to their wishes and seek their input or decision on any matters not explicitly delegated to the board, to respect that the directors are jointly accountable to the members and thus, even apart from my fellow directors or dissenting with them, I will never act unilaterally for or against the membership without consulting with them in the general meeting. And we have several people that have...
Yeah, how many
So we have 7 positions fully, and if we have more nominations than 7, we will need to vote.
And are all 7 vacant?
Yes.
As we started this evening? Okay.
Correct.
So 7 positions to fill and...
There are 2 carrying on, 7 needing to come on board.
Okay, so we're total of 9.
Yes, 9 max of 9. Well, we actually only need 7,
Okay.
but we can have a max of 9.
So we're open. Okay, so I'll open the floor to nominations.
I have my word question.
I have a question.
So we have one here and then...
Who are, again, so because we had this discussion before we actually opened the meeting, who are the 2 people that are continuing on in their 2-year terms?
We have Louise, the chair, and we have Claudette.
And I'm staying.
You stated that outside interest in your first clause was a conflict, and I want to know if you consider the community to be an outside cause. Or is that a conflict?
I think conflict of interest more particularly pertains to financial gain. So if you are a contractor that runs a business that is hoping to get a contract from Whispers of Hope for whatever reason, that would definitely be a conflict of interest.
Okay, but loyalty to the community is not a conflict of interest?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay, thank you.
As long as it's not against the purpose
Yeah,
of which the society is run.
that's the biggest
sorry?
purpose.
As long as it's not against the purpose of the society that's run. So you may hold in value or uphold something from a community that may be different, a conflict, different than the purpose of the society. That would be a conflict.
Okay.
Yes, Kathy.
What is Dwayne's, did Dwayne step in to fit into
Yes.
the following one that
Yes,
was
he's needing
before?
to be nominated in order to carry on. He was, I don't remember how many months now, appointed for the last few months.
Okay, so he wasn't appointed to a 1-year or a 2-year term, he was appointed to finish up someone else's, okay.
All right, nominations. Yes,
Nominate Dwayne.
Dwayne.
Dwayne Foster.
BW.
Or D-U-A-N-E. I know there's a right there. The right word says a dry erase.
Jeez. Very auspicious start.
Let's do it. Always do it.
Do it.
And E. Foster. Okay. And do you accept, Dwayne?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I will nominate Connor.
Dwayne. L-O-R-R-A-I-N-E. C-O-N-N?
Yes, O-R.
O-R. Okay. I'm just gonna go this direction. Dan?
I would like to nominate Pamela Kennedy. Sorry, I missed that last one.
I'm Kennedy.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Scott Davis.
Is that any relation to Dave Davis?
All right, nobody has to
Yeah.
answer that. Control me.
Back there.
I'd like to nominate Diana Bryan.
Diane O'Brien. It's R-I-E-N. Okay. That's right here.
Terry Taggart.
Oh, okay, sorry. Terry, T-E-R-R-Y?
T-R-R-I.
R-R-I. Tag. T-A-G-G. Okay, E-R-T?
Yes.
And so,
I'd like to nominate Kim McCollum.
Kim McCall.
Can I nominate somebody else too?
Not until.
You have to wait till everyone else.
I'm sorry, but the lady in front here, did she not nominate two people already? So that name Terry,
No.
would be nominated from somebody else?
She's only mentioned
No,
one.
no, she's the first.
There were
That
two
was-
individuals side by
Oh,
side.
okay.
Two different ones, yeah. So Kim, it was Kim,
M-C-L-E-L-L.
A-N? Yes.
I nominate Valerie Rogers.
Okay.
So Valerie.
Yep, it's going to vote.
Yes.
Joe White.
Joe. Sorry, is everyone on this list here? I haven't been asked.
Okay, you'll get them all to stand and introduce themselves, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think staff can.
Oh, great. My mistake.
Yes, sorry.
I'd like to nominate Ann Palmer.
Just, Ann, no E? Just A-N-N or an E?
No, with an E.
With an E?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Val Rowe.
Look at the interest now, eh?
Any more nominations?
I'd like to nominate one more. Tammy
Okay.
Battersley.
Okay. Just one sec.
Sure.
Any, just sort of going on.
Tabby Battersby.
Oh, okay. You're not gonna tell me.
Same shoe. Thank you.
Same shoot.
D-A-T-T-E-R-S-B-Y.
Okay, so, anyone else? Okay, all right, well, here are your nominees. So there are 1, 2, 3.
Yes, did you sign in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 12. What did you say about more? You said 7, but we could have more or something?
No, we can only have 7.
Okay.
So it was, if there were only 7 or less nominees, then we wouldn't need a vote, but now, of course, there's a lot more, so we do
Right.
need to have it go to vote.
Okay.
But we should double check that all the nominees
Yes, is everyone?
accept.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melissa,
Mhm.
just because where I work, we have 7 up to 9, but 2 would be alternates in case somebody is sick or felt ill. So does that apply the same?
We don't
with
have
Robert's rules as what applies with
As-
my rules?
I'm quite positive that no, it's just, we need a minimum of 7 voted in tonight. We can have upwards of 9, so there's 9 positions to be filled, and there are no substitute members or fill-ins.
That was part of Robert's rules.
I would suspect that, not just doing top, I would expect that's more to do bylaws of any individual organization, would be my guess.
It's not,
It's
there's
not.
no language, no provision for all in the bylaws.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's specific to each organization's bylaw.
Yes.
Since it is going to ballot, can we have a clear understanding of how we use our ballots so that we don't spoil them?
Yes,
Because
you need
every vote
two
is important.
scrutineers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let me do first things first. Is there anyone on this list who does not want to stand for nomination?
I've got a question.
Just one second, just one second. Is there anyone on this list that doesn't want to stand for nomination? Is everyone on this list here tonight?
Each one should stand up.
Yeah, okay, so one at a time. So Dwayne, can you stand up and just wave if you want, and if anyone wants to say a thing or two about what they hope to achieve or what they're...
I would like everybody to say what
Okay.
they hope to achieve.
Sure.
please.
Well, since you want to know who I am, what I am, I've been around about 5 years, and I've done quite a bit of things, from all kinds of work to all kinds of no work. So I know what it feels like to not have a place to live. I know what it feels like to have a place. I know what it feels like to have it removed because of an accident. I know what it feels like in order to lose everything that you got. So I feel that if we can't have compassion and understanding for our other fellow man, then we shouldn't probably say a word, because then we become judges. And I think the last thing we need to do is to judge one another, and we need to accept one another where they are in their life. We never know what one has gone through. And if we knew what everybody went through, then maybe we would be all judges. But at the same time, we're not in that position to judge anybody. And I really feel that we can help one another by opening ourselves up to accept somebody as where they are. And they may be in the worst spot possible, but at least we lend a hand or give something to them or help them, but never judge them.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, Lorraine?
Hi, I'm Lorraine. I've lived in Grand Forks for 37 years. I've just retired after 32 years in healthcare. I have an interest with mental health. I've taken some courses in psychosocial rehab. I'd like to see the Whispers of Hope and the community come together and work as one.
My name is Pamela Kennedy. Educational background, I have university certificate in health and safety environmental process, which covers a lot of this drug addiction, especially towards work. I have 10 years behind me in volunteer services from Midway to rural to city, and where I've protected a lot of people. And long-term first aid attendant, and I love Grand Forks. So I'm here to help try to close the gap and build transparency, so get everyone talking on the same page.
Scott?
Well, I've been in Grand Forks for about 8 years now, and I believe in all of the measures that you folks are trying to accomplish in the community. There are people that need help, but I also think that people need to take responsibility for themselves. I've worked my life, all my life. I've always taken responsibility for my actions, and I believe everybody should. I'd like to be a liaison between the community and Whispers of Hope, and try to get the problems that have been surfaced over the years, and try to get some some closure and try to get people together, and so that we can all get along and make this thing work properly.
Hi, I'm Diana Bryan. I've supported Whispers of Hope for many years. I also grew up in this community since I was really little. So I went to elementary school and high school and moved away, went to college, all that stuff. I'm back. I've always supported them. I think it's a great organization, and that's why I'm really part of the board.
Hi, my name is Terry Taggart. My husband and I moved here from Victoria 2 years ago. Homelessness there is out of this league. It wasn't until I came here and was part of a small community. You get to know them, and I get to know the people going into Whispers. I go in there to thrift so I can do art and crafts, and I need a guy named Steve who's changed my life. Just because he needed somebody to talk to, and I was that person, and I always got a hug and I love you. I didn't expect that when I moved to Grand Forks. So I want to help this board with I have, in my former life before moving to Grand Forks, I worked for 25 years in the investment industry, so I hope to bring some of my process management and my experience in that industry to the board to help them. And yeah, I really want us all to get along. And ultimately, it's just like you said, like they're humans. So let's treat them and respect them. And I also agree with Scott. You know, people need to be responsible as well, and that's where I like the model of coming to work. So, thank you.
I find this so hard. Unlike the other board members, I'm usually the one hiding in the background because I'm not a very good speaker. I can just say I've been involved with the board since December of 2012, and I've been through the ups and downs of being involved in it, but I'm very proud and passionate to be a part of it. I love that we feed people. We feed their tummies, we feel their spirit, we feel their minds, and that's it, I guess. So yeah, that's why I want to be continue to be a part of it.
Hi, I guess the newbie on the block, because I've only been here a year. And I'm not, I've been on many committees in Alberta where I came from, tons of committees, figure skating, school boards, whatever. So I just want to come and work with this group of people to have the transparency for our community so that everyone can benefit in this society. And hopefully we can all work together to figure out what to do to keep everybody on the same page.
My name's Joe White. I work and volunteer in the community. I've been here 4 years. I've been on the receiving end of the generosity of this community, and I've also been on the giving end. And I just want to say that it's been a great community. I've been very happy to be a part of this community. Sometimes the negativity gets to be a little much, but I believe in what Whispers is doing. And I myself work in a position that does a lot of what Whispers does as well, but without overlapping. So we just kind of assist each other and help each other out in any way that we can. So I would just like to support and to help with that community connection and that networking, because that's what I do. And so, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Palmer. I've done lots of community work before. I've managed committees, volunteers, and had to stick within budgets, etc. My background is in purchasing management. I also am very good at organization. I organized warehouses for years in Vancouver Island Health Association. But I had a question, but you wouldn't let me ask the question. Do you have a set thing that you have to be at so many meetings in a year?
I believe, yeah,
Yes.
all of them.
every month?
No, that's not normal.
No, yes, there's, you can give
I think you can miss two
with the
without
notice.
with no, and of course then your chair no, but if you miss more than two.
Consecutive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consecutive,
You know,
without the
without-
cause.
without
Yeah, sometimes there is cause.
Okay.
Yes.
So, can you do it by Skype? Do you do Skyping?
We haven't, but we could.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I apologize for not getting back to you.
Oh, did you have a statement? Oh, yeah, there's another statement.
Yeah. And Val?
So I've been here for 44, 45 years. I think a lot of you probably know me. And I've been on the fringe of supporting them, but not actively and physically supporting the Whispers of Hope. I guess what's my catalyst is that my sister-in-law recently passed away. And she suffered her whole life with mental illness. And when she first came to Grand Forks, which is probably 30 years ago, I guess, the Hands of Mercy and then later Whispers of Hope was a place where she felt safe and where she wasn't judged. The rest of us tended to do because she looked different and she acted different and she was paranoid and she had all those little symptoms. And they really helped her, and I think that there's a lot of people in our community that are housed, that are fed, but they need that kind of emotional support. And a lot of the negative comments that have been going on is dwelling on a handful of people that have caused problems in the community, but there's a whole lot bigger community that stands to take advantage of the community kitchen and the good work and the kind hearts of these people. So I'd like to be part of them.
And Tammy?
I'm Tammy Battersby. I was meaning to be outgoing vice chair this evening, but I've also been taught in different circles of healing that I've attended that when you're asked to do something, you do it. So thank you for the nomination, both people. And I have been on the board for 4 years. I have learned a lot about being on a board in that 4 years. When I first came on is when we were building the policies and procedures manual. The board had hired Cindy Fair, and she had walked us through strategic planning and taught us a lot about things, and we began to review the policies. So every meeting had policy and procedures review, and we were working away on that before things got like a little busy. Right? So I have disconnected myself from Facebook conversations about Whispers because I do have a concern about acting unilaterally, right? And so on Facebook, I'm Tammy Battersby. My opinion is mine, and it is not anything to do with Whispers. I will share things like the email and say, hey, give us an email, and I'll likely continue to do that. But my passion for Whispers is not because we do everything right and I want to stand up for that. My passion for Whispers is because we're willing to work to the betterment of our community and everybody in it. I spent many times, I have donated to have lunch at Whispers because so it was just, and we went to school together, what can I say? Anyhow, I've met so many amazing people there. I've met senior citizens there. I've met, and I want to be clear, some of those were homeless. We have senior citizens in our city that are homeless. I've met mothers there with children. Again, some of those are homeless. Too many of those are homeless. I've met couples there. I've met singles there. I've met kids there. I've seen disruptions there. I've monitored the courtyard, you know, and this guy told this guy to F off. And I went, hey dude, you want to eat lunch? And he went, sorry man. And that was difficult to deal with, right? But in a summer, I dealt with 3 of those situations in the courtyard, on the premises of Whispers of Hope. We do have a handful of people that wreak havoc. And I'm not sure what the solution is to that. Whispers of Hope doesn't serve some of these people that wreak havoc. We've banned some of those people a long time ago. But we answer for them still today. And so, you know, I love them. They're messy, but I love them. And I used to be messy, and there's people in this room who have invested a lot of time and energy into leadership training, into recovery, because I am recovering from an addiction as well. They've invested time and attention into letting me be a community member. Time and, you know, just like Deb said, right? They gave me a chance, you know. 15 years ago, I was a single mom having to move out of the house that I owned because I got left on my butt with 2 little kids. And I moved into a mobile home in a trailer park that was a little seedy with those 2 little kids. And it was lonely and it was difficult, and my neighbor said, why don't you join the board? And so I did. I joined the medical society. And then I joined a different board, and I joined a different board. But the challenge was, there was this fundraiser that came along, and they said, hey, we're gonna do a fundraiser. I said, great, I'll do the cooking. And they said, oh. Room went quiet. And then the chair says, well, how do we know you're gonna follow through? See, I was a single mom, so I must be irresponsible. Must be lazy, right? I was allowed to do that meal because the ladies beside me said, I'll vouch for her. But guess who handled the money? Oh, the lady beside me, because I was also untrustworthy, right? In the last however many years, all those labels have been able to be turned around. Never have I been untrustworthy, I'm bonded. Never have I been lazy. Wow, didn't clean my room. Right? But labels are really powerful, right? And so I don't use a lot of labels. And when I do, you know, I'm sorry for that. I'm really happy that everybody in this room is here because they care about our community. I really hope that everybody in this room can accept that everybody that's in our community is a community member.
These are nominees. I believe you can, since there's 7 vacancies, you can write up to 7 names or less on your ballots. I would suggest, since they're all different first names, just because of small ballots, that a first name clearly written would suffice, I think, rather than trying to jam the whole. That's the way I write is.
You do have Val and Valerie,
Oh, okay.
so you'd have to make sure to differentiate.
Yeah, if that's okay. If that works. Yeah.
There are some extra.
Maybe if you're gonna write that full name, if you're gonna vote for either or both, write Valerie Rogers, write Valerie Elkoff, just so that you know. But otherwise, sort of. Yeah, it doesn't really, actually, do whatever you want, as long as it's clear, as long as you can fit it, it's clear.
Some people don't have ballots.
Yeah. If you are a member, and you don't have a ballot, make sure you get a ballot.
Did you guys sign in?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to, so. Yeah, so, John, do you nominate the board?
Would you be willing to be one?
Usually it's nomination from the floor, but sure, I'll volunteer if people want. Louise would still have to speak to that. Yeah, we have to appoint 2 scrutineers, Louise.
Okay,
So if people could volunteer, then you have to approve it through a vote.
yeah. May I have 2 volunteers to scrutiny? John DeHaan and Catherine?
Okay, we have a few hands.
Okay, or
We could have more than 2.
You could do 3.
Yeah, sure.
could the volunteers stand up, please?
Yeah. Okay. So do we have to vote to approve those?
Just vote to approve.
Yeah.
Okay, vote to approve these volunteers here? Anybody opposed to any of them in particular?
Nope.
One up, please.
Okay, so every member has a ballot. You have a writing implement. And just hold your hand.
I think
Everybody wants.
Just 1 minute, they're calling some of them back in.
Okay. Sure.
Time's up.
Party in the parking lot.
No, this is some of the elected, so please. Ladies, shotgun for a cologne.
Party animals.
You cheeky person.
Okay. So the reason we took so long is because there was a clear top 6, and then there's a tie for 7. So the board's gonna have to decide how to run it off. What do we do? Anyhow, you guys can figure that out as far as, because people have left. You know, anyhow, I'll leave it to you guys to decide to run it off tonight or figure out another way to do a runoff election for those last 2 positions, or the last 1 position. So I'll just in order. So I'll start with first, and I'll write the number of votes they got. So Joe White is elected.
Shouldn't know that.
Huh?
I would like to know that myself.
Okay.
No, the directors get the numbers.
Okay.
You're gonna just indicate the top 6 and then show the ties.
There's objection in
We
the crowd.
just always disclosed it in the
To
past,
how many
so we
numbers?
did not.
No, just the elected directors, which is your top 6.
Okay.
Okay, and put the number?
He's saying not the number.
Okay, I'm not gonna put the numbers. Y'all can, I'll give the numbers to the board. Y'all. Okay. Okay, so Joe White is elected.
Okay.
Val Rilkoff is elected. Dwayne Foster is elected. Tammy Battersby is elected. Terry Taggart and Kim McClellan. So, and then now we have a tie between Lorraine, 7, and Pamela Kennedy.
Flip a coin.
Can there be alternatives if one can't make it to a meeting?
We discussed that a lot. We discussed actually the 2 people even sitting together and saying, how about you, how about me, how about not, you know, but it was rightly pointed out that if one person concedes, then the votes that might have been for the other person or for the person who concedes may have been voted for someone else. To me, it seemed, logical, you guys, the tie, sit and talk, you know, but I guess it's not the process that we can follow.
That's fine. So it stands for each candidate? That's my suggestion.
There's a consideration with that, is that you can flip a coin, but, for example, we've got a tie with Lorraine and Pamela. Say Pam wins the coin toss. The people that voted for Lorraine might not have voted for Pamela and instead voted for one of the people that didn't get elected. So that, you know, you can work it 2 ways. If you have a full membership, you can have a by-election with all the remaining names, including the ties, or you can just flip for the position.
Can you not have more directors?
We have enough.
9, I think, is their constitutional max.
Okay.
Can we sign the agreement so we can do another ballot between just those 2 names?
Problem is, we talked that over as well. So many members have left.
Why can't we have a ballot with just the people in the room between these 2 people?
Because
There's
so many
still
members have left.
Yeah.
But they chose to leave.
No, they were told they could leave.
You know, you can, you know, if you want to settle it on a coin flip, ask your membership how they feel about the coin flip.
the members that have left? Those are not the same,
You
like
could
that
come
same
up-
dip, right? So we can make it easy, we walk out, you guys do the vote, done. It would be the same dip if we put the code.
Because we could do that tonight and then announce to the membership and those who may have left what we did tonight, and then they can, you know, either if there's objections, they can object to it, or then they can say, this is what, you know, this is what we decided in the room, this is who was elected from that decision, and as long as you are transparent and report it back, if there's an objection, then you would have to cross that bridge when it comes to the.
Is there anything in the bylaws that says anything, any statement in the event of a tie?
No.
Not
I
that I've
looked,
come across.
I looked it up already.
So, yeah, I do have a question. And I don't know if you can answer this, Ian. I know that we have provision in our policies to do electronic decisions on our day-to-day operations. Would that apply to elections? Could we do an electronic vote?
I just was, you know, can you help us out and do I'm no expert in any of this, I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go.
Yeah, right?
So, I don't know.
Oh, okay. In the case of a tie vote, the chair.
But that's,
No,
that's not
That's
direct.
different, yeah. So can I make a suggestion and we can maybe even vote on it as a group? I mean, perhaps even just to honor the members who have stuck it out this long to find out the decisions. It really wouldn't be hard to, again, give out another ballot to those who have signed the agreements and gone through the rigmarole. And we do one last final determination between Pam and between Lorraine. And it would not take nearly as long to recount those votes between the two names if the membership agrees.
I support that.
The same thing you could do is have them both walk out the door and do a show of hands, it's faster.
Less paper.
I'm down with that, right?
Ian?
Yeah.
So when we discussed that in the other room though, it was brought up that there are the other.
We could do, yes, so that's the consideration, is you could have, the members would have the ability to vote on all of the names that aren't elected. Or, I'm just saying, I would prefer, let's just do the two. So that's easier, it's quicker, like you said, we can show of hands, as long as you are members, as long as we can say who's members. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you are not a member, can you please like scooch away?
You gotta leave.
So we know we're the only members in this area right now. Okay? Is everybody satisfied that any contention on if there's non-members in the crowd?
So Sylvia, you're a non-member, unfortunately. She's moving.
Okay. Or at least just keep an eye on her if she tries to vote. Call the cops. Call the cops. Okay.
Nobody votes, just me.
Are you putting up show of hands?
We
You
are.
want that recorded or not?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, the choices are Lorraine O'Connor and Pamela Kennedy. So, show of hands for Lorraine O'Connor.
And which one's Lorraine? Lorraine.
She left the room.
I would rather do this by paper.
Well, let's do a show of hands and see, because if it's super clear, then I think we're good. So, Lorraine O'Connor. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Pamela Kennedy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, stop. Hands up, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, I have 16.
Are they all members?
Can someone
We're going to
scrutinize
assume
that?
people are on the honor system.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had a ballot before.
Well, it was a bit of a difference there, yeah.
So that's Pamela. Okay, so that's our process. That's what we did. retiring as elections
Congratulations, Pamela.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yes.